Well, hello, my fellow broke aristocrats. It is good to be back shooting for this channel. I thought I would come on and do a video about affordable travel. I just recently got back from Portugal, and I wanted to do a series of videos on affordable travel in Portugal. So this is the first of a series of videos I'm going to be doing on affordable travel for broke aristocrats. I know some of you are really struggling. You're trying to live as frugally as possible, but even when we're paying down debt, even when we're living unbelievably frugally, it's important also to put a little money aside so that you can have a little fun, whether it's camping in the woods for a couple of days, or if you can afford, once you're debt free, you might want to do something a little bit better than that. So let me tell you some of the things that I did so that I could have an affordable vacation in Portugal. Here's the list, and we're going to go through it. Number one, the first thing I decided when I wanted to be a frugal traveler is, first off, just how important is travel to you? For me, travel is really, really important. It's the reason I live. You know, travel the world, meet amazing people, make friends all over the world, food, culture, etc. So I knew it was a huge part of my life, and so I wanted to make sure that I had the money to travel. And so that meant when I budgeted my life, I had a little something that I put in savings every month that was my travel budget. Also, I do YouTube videos, and I get paid a little bit of money from YouTube. And so I was also committed to making sure that a small portion of my YouTube budget was going to go towards travel. Right now, I put about 10% of my money into travel every month. And this affords me a 2-week trip about every 4 months. And so that's the first thing I did. The second thing I did is I really thought about, we only have a limited amount of time on earth when we're going to be healthy enough to travel, be able to financially afford to travel. So I have a list of places I really want to visit. Say you have your top 10, maybe your top 100 is going to have to be on hold, but your top 10 or your top 5, maybe number 1 for you might be London. So you pick a place. Have your list. But the other thing you want to do is so number 1, you want to save. You want to make sure that you have a budget for you want to prioritize travel, and you want to make sure that it's in your budget, and you want to take it seriously if travel is important to you. Number 2, you want to have a list of what the most important places are for you to travel, whether it's the top 5, the top 10, etc. Number 3, you want to look at the off season. It's going to be cheaper if you travel in the off season. For example, I chose the location Portugal, and I knew that late October prices would be cheaper because it was off season. So the third tip is to go off season. Find out when the best time to go is. Late October was the best time. Now in spring, I'm going to be looking at Ireland, and again, off-season. The thing they say about Ireland is that it rains all the time, and it's usually about 70 degrees, give or take, all year round. So it doesn't really matter when you go to Ireland. But again, the same thing with Ireland. I'll be probably going off-season. The other thing, number 5, is that I really encourage people to compare prices of airline tickets, because airline tickets are going to be one of your most expensive things that you're going to have to budget for. So you can go to Google, you can punch in what you want, and then Google will compare prices. I'm pretty happy with Expedia.com, Bookings.com, if you are looking to buy your own tickets. I also advise you not to fly on Fridays. Fridays can be expensive, Sundays can be expensive. Instead, you'll probably find that the best time to fly out is on a Monday or a Tuesday, and that can also save you a couple $100. In addition to travel being expensive, where you stay, the hotels you stay at can be expensive. You may be comfortable staying in hostels. For example, when I was in Portugal, I stayed at the Solo Travelers, got to give them a shout out, Solo Travelers Hostel, which is located in Lisbon. That's one of the places I stayed. I stayed there for 3 days, and there were pros and cons to staying in a hostel. The Goodmorning Solo Hostel in Lisbon, Portugal is rated as one of the best hostels in Europe, and it certainly has some of the best customer service I've ever experienced in a hostel. But there are pros and cons to everything. For example, it may not be the best hostel for you if you have any physical disabilities that are going to prevent you from walking up long flights of stairs. I think it was something like 4 flights of stairs to get to my room. So if that's not possible, if it's not feasible for you to do that, you don't want to stay in something like a solo hostel, Goodmorning Solo Hostel, because you have to take into consideration things like that. But if that's not a problem and you don't mind walking up a couple flights of stairs and getting your exercise in, then this is a great place to stay. I got the full package so that food was included. I'm a vegan. I don't eat animal products, and they do accommodate vegans. The breakfast for vegans is not that great. It was basically soy milk and cornflakes. I think if they had maybe, cooked up some scrambled tofu, most of the guests would have eaten it, and I don't think it would have been particularly expensive. Maybe they can do something like that in the future. So a little bit not too happy with the breakfast. The dinners are excellent. They did a great job making sure that I had plenty to eat. Like I said, customer service was excellent. The only negative about that particular hotel for me had to do with the breakfast could have been a little bit more varied for the vegans. And the thing about the steps is actually didn't bother me because I was trying to lose weight and my doctor wanted me to walk steps. So I specifically look, I don't enjoy it, but I knew that it was something that would be good for me. So I did choose the hostel with 5 flights of stairs deliberately for that reason. The other thing I did, which made my trip affordable, was I chose to vary it. Like I knew the first couple of days when I was in Lisbon, I would be getting my sea legs back, and that really all I would want to do is just sleep and rest and take it easy for the first day or two. So why have an expensive hotel when really what you only need is a capsule? And the great thing about the Solo Traveller Hostel was that you had your own private curtains. You could close your bed, and it was plenty of space to just be alone. I found the rooms to be fairly quiet, and I was able to rest. There was a nice cafe across the street where I could get vegan food. I was a happy girl. Now, I did about 6 days out of the 2 weeks in a hostel. That saved me a ton of money. The other hostel I went to was $25 a night. So you're talking about me saving a lot of money. Because I didn't pay for food, hardly. I didn't pay for much for the hostels for 6 days. That meant that half my trip, I barely spent any money. And that gave me the opportunity to treat myself, you guessed it, later on. And so that's what I did. Then I went to Porto. And then when I got to Porto, I stayed 3 days in a hostel. And then I treated myself to a Holiday Inn for 3 days. They had a nice, and again, I choreographed it so that, for example, if I'm going to stay at the more expensive place, you don't want to do it on a weekend. You want to do it on a weekday. Instead, stay at the hostel or the Airbnb room on the weekends, and then when you want to treat yourself to the more expensive 3-star hotel, you'll do it on maybe a weekday to save a little money. The other thing, if you're traveling with another person who you're willing to share a room with, you can save a little money. But because I was a solo traveler, this is the best solution I had. Yeah, so the last thing I would just say is expect flight and hotel to be your most expensive cost. I'm also showing a couple of pictures here of the hostel and the wonderful people that I met there. So what rating would I give for the hostel? Probably about 3.5 to 4 stars out of 5. I knocked half a star off for the whole vegan thing because I didn't really find that I had as much variety as I'd liked for the breakfast. And then I took a point off for seniors and people that would have trouble walking up the steps. For me personally, it wasn't a problem, but for somebody else it might be. All right, thanks for watching this quick video on affordable travel to Portugal. It's the first in the, I think it's going to be a 3-4 part series on my trip to Portugal and how I saved a ton of money. I haven't done all the mathematics, but I'm very happy with the trip, very happy with how little money I spent. And because I spent so little money, that has rolled over to my next trip, which will be in Japan in December. And of course, we'll be covering that trip for you as well. Thank you everybody for watching this quick video from Broke Aristocrats. Be sure and share, like, and subscribe. And tell me what you're doing to live your best life without going broke. All right, take care everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.